Thomas Hartley sat alone on the park bench, watching the autumn leaves dance in the golden afternoon light. At 58, he had built an empire in commercial real estate, yet somehow, success had left him feeling empty. His children were grown now, living their own busy lives across the country. His marriage had ended years ago, amicably enough, but leaving him with a silence he'd never quite learned to fill. These days, he found himself here most Saturday afternoons, simply watching life unfold around him. The fountain behind him caught the sunlight, creating little rainbows in its spray. Families walked past, parents pushing strollers, children chasing each other across the grass. Thomas adjusted his gray suit jacket, realizing he'd come straight from the office again. Even on weekends, old habits lingered. Then he noticed her. A little girl, perhaps 6 years old, with blonde pigtails tied with small blue ribbons. She wore a pink dress decorated with cheerful yellow sunflowers. She was walking toward him with determined steps, clutching something in her small hand. Thomas watched, curious, as she stopped directly in front of him. Her blue eyes were serious, far too serious for such a young face. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice carrying the careful politeness of a child who'd been taught good manners. "Are you busy today?" Thomas blinked in surprise. "Well, I suppose not. Can I help you with something?" The little girl extended her hand. In it was a crumpled $50 bill. "Here's $50, she said solemnly. "I just need a dad for one day." Thomas felt his heart constrict. He looked at the money, then back at her earnest face. "Sweetheart, I don't understand. Where are your parents?" "My daddy died last year," she said, matter-of-fact in the way children sometimes are about painful truths. "Mommy works really hard at 2 jobs. Today is the father-daughter picnic at my school, but Mommy has to work. All my friends will be there with their dads." She pushed the bill toward him again. "I've been saving my allowance for 3 months. Please, just for today?" Thomas felt tears threatening at the corners of his eyes. He gently closed her small fingers back around the money. "Put that away, honey. You don't need to pay me." He glanced around the park. "Where's your mother now?" "She's at work. Mrs. Peterson, our neighbor, brought me to the park. She's over there." The girl pointed to an elderly woman on a distant bench who waved when she saw them looking. Thomas took a slow breath. "What's your name?" "Emma Grace Mitchell. I'm 6 3/4. Well, Emma Grace, my name is Thomas, and I'd be honored to be your dad for the day. No charge." Emma's face transformed, a smile spreading like sunshine breaking through clouds. "Really? You mean it?" "I do. But first, we should talk to Mrs. Peterson and your mother. We need to make sure they're comfortable with this." 20 minutes later, after a phone call that left Emma's mother in tears of gratitude, Thomas found himself walking with Emma toward the school grounds 3 blocks away. Mrs. Peterson had given her blessing, touched by his kindness. "We're having a picnic," Emma explained, skipping beside him. "And there are games. 3-legged races and egg tosses. And everyone brings food to share." Thomas looked down at his expensive suit. "I'm afraid I didn't dress for the occasion. And I don't have any food to bring." "That's okay," Emma said, taking his hand with a trust that humbled him. "We can share what others bring. And you look very nice, like a real dad going to work." As they arrived at the school grounds, Thomas saw clusters of fathers and daughters scattered across the lawn. Some were spreading blankets, others were already engaged in activities. He felt a familiar ache, remembering when his own children were small. Emma's teacher, a kind-faced woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, approached them. Emma had excitedly explained the situation, and the teacher's eyes softened with understanding. "Mr. Hartley, how lovely of you to join us. Emma talks about her father often. I know this day has been hard for her." The afternoon unfolded like a gift Thomas hadn't known he needed. They participated in the 3-legged race, laughing as they stumbled and nearly fell, finishing last but not caring. Thomas couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed so freely. During the egg toss, Emma was so excited when they caught the egg 5 times in a row that she did a little dance that made everyone smile. They sat on a borrowed blanket, sharing sandwiches and cookies that other families generously offered. Emma told him about school, her best friend Lily, her cat named Whiskers, and how she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up. "What about you?" she asked, taking a bite of cookie. What do you do? I build buildings, Thomas said simply. Or rather, I help people figure out where buildings should go. That sounds important, Emma said thoughtfully. Do you have kids? I do. 2 daughters and a son. But they're all grown up now. They don't need their old dad much anymore. He tried to keep the wistfulness from his voice. Emma patted his hand with cookie-crumbed fingers. I bet they need you more than you think. My mommy says everyone needs their daddy no matter how old they get. Thomas felt the truth of her words settle in his chest. As the afternoon wore on, Thomas found himself sitting with other fathers, discussing schools and neighborhoods and the simple challenges of raising children. They accepted him without question, and he realized how much he'd missed this kind of easy companionship. When it came time for the father-daughter dance, Thomas took Emma's hands and they swayed to gentle music as the sun began its descent. Emma rested her head against him, and Thomas felt something inside him heal just a little. Thank you, she whispered. This was the best day. Thank you, Emma Grace, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. You've given me something precious today, too. As the event wound down, Thomas walked Emma back to the park where Mrs. Peterson was waiting. Emma's mother, Sarah, had managed to leave work early and was there too, a thin woman with tired eyes and Emma's same blonde hair. Sarah hugged her daughter, then turned to Thomas with tears streaming down her face. I don't know how to thank you. Emma's been dreading this day for weeks. Thomas shook his head. No thanks needed. Emma reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Being a father isn't just biology. It's about showing up, being present. He paused. I haven't been very present for my own children lately. Your daughter taught me something important today. In the weeks that followed, Thomas found himself thinking about Emma. With Sarah's permission, he stopped by occasionally, usually with books he thought Emma might enjoy, or to take her for ice cream while Sarah worked her evening shift. He also called his own children more often. Really talked to them, not just exchanged pleasantries, made plans to visit, showed up. 3 months later, at Emma's 7th birthday party, Thomas sat among the small crowd of children and parents. Emma ran over to him wearing a birthday crown and a smile that could light up the world. I'm so glad you came, she said, hugging him tightly. Sarah approached, looking healthier now, less exhausted. She'd been able to cut back to one job after Thomas had quietly helped arrange a better-paying position for her through his company's connections. You know, Sarah said softly, watching Emma run back to her friends. That day in the park, Emma was so desperate to have a father figure there. She'd tried to hire the mailman first, but he couldn't get away from his route. They both laughed gently at that. I'm the one who got the better deal, Thomas said. She saved me, really. From a life of sitting alone on park benches, watching the world go by. As autumn gave way to winter and then to spring, Thomas remained a constant presence in Emma's life. Not replacing her father, nothing could do that, but being there, present. A steady hand, a listening ear, a man who showed up, and in doing so, he rediscovered what mattered most. Not the buildings he'd built or the fortune he'd accumulated, but the simple act of being there for another person, of accepting love however it comes, of understanding that family isn't always about blood, but about choice and commitment and showing up. On his 59th birthday, Thomas received a handmade card from Emma. Inside, in her careful child's handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for being my dad for more than just one day. Love, Emma Grace." Thomas kept that card in his desk drawer where he could see it every day, a reminder that sometimes the most important investments we make aren't measured in dollars and cents, but in moments of connection that change everything. Because that's what Emma had given him. Not just a day in the park, but a reason to live fully again, to be present, to choose love, and that was worth more than all the money in the world.